一歩一歩進むのだ。気を抜くでない。一寸先を感じ取り、己が選ぶべき道を知れ。息を満たし放つのだ。己が心を開け。邪念を鎮めるのだ、ヒロキ。
Did you ever wanted to be a samurai in a black and white samurai action film? Well, look no further. Trek to Yomi is a monochromatic experience set in the ancient samurai era. You play as Hiroki, a samurai. Right from his young age, he faced a lot of misery, he faced a lot of suffering that included his master dying, that included his village being raided, that included a lot of people dying. And you, on the other hand, are filled with vengeance, are filled with revenge, and are filled with the thirst of taking the revenge, protecting your people. But is it gonna go as planned? Well, if it would have, it would not be a game. The game has already released on May 5th, is also available on the Xbox Game Pass. So if you're a subscriber till now, then definitely it is a game that you must pick. Otherwise, you can pick it up on Steam or PlayStation, Xbox, whatever suits you better. The game comes from Flying Wild Hog, Leonard Menchiari, and published by Devolver Digital. Now, this review might be a little bit short, but I am glad it is short because I just want you to go right in and experience the game yourself, because it is something that is a must play. Starting right off with the story might not be super exciting for a lot of people because of their overly high standards these days, and I'm pretty sad about that. Addressing that, a lot of people might see that Trek to Yomi hasn't got a really good rating amongst all the other popular reviewing websites, and I think that's fair. But I also think that is not fair to some extent, because right now we are at a stage where games aren't being celebrated anymore. The games aren't being criticized more, which is fine for a game because it helps the developer to improve upon the standard, to key upon the current standard of the game. I mean, definitely Elden Ring is one of the key parameters, is one of the key standards. So people do expect every other game to be like Elden Ring, but it is quite not possible. Each game has its own idea, has its own resources, and should be just according to that. But still, it did got a pretty flat review, and a lot of people thought the story was pretty flatlined and pretty sad. But for me, I think it's pretty good, and it's pretty decent for a game like this, and it's pretty decent for the thought, for the ideology this game goes through. Well, the story is about Hiroki, and when he was young, his village was attacked where his sensei died, and his sensei, before dying, made him to take an oath where he promised to protect the people, protect his village with his life, which he promised to do so. His sister then became the leader of the city, and then once again the city was attacked. And before being attacked, there was a nearby city that was attacked where a group of samurais were held hostage. So Hiroki went off and tried to rescue them, but apparently it was a bait just to distract Hiroki away while his entire city was salvaged. So the entire journey is about Hiroki trying to come back, then eventually facing a lot of miseries, and eventually a lot of shit happens that I do really recommend you to play it out yourself. Now, jumping back into the graphics, I think the game has been beautifully set, it has been beautifully made, and it offers some really good scenes, and definitely you would want to take a lot of screenshots. So definitely a lot of desktop wallpapers are coming out of this game, and especially the game has a bit of an open environment, so you can actually go up to certain places, and there are a lot of secret places where you can get a lot of upgrades, health upgrades, stamina upgrades. So it is a good thought to explore all your environment, take a moment, absorb it all in, because there is definitely a lot of places to go. There is definitely multiple places to go across that will decide which path you're taking. It could be harder, it could be easier, so depends on usually the paths you take. But apart from that, I think the audio that supports the game, the music, the SFX, and the entire life of the game has been put down pretty well, because the game does offer really good sound delivery, and the game has really good OSTs, and most importantly, the dialogue delivery of the game is also on point. I mean, experience this.
修行を忘れるでないぞ。己が死に従うのだ。常にな。ヒロキ、無事でおれ。
And at the same time, imagine this happening.
ありがとうございます。約束込めて。ありがとうございます。約束込めて。イレン5段型。始め。1、2。
So, now you know how important dialogue delivery is and how well it has been done in Trek to Yomi. That's my whole point of celebrating a game. But I do know it is not gonna happen, and some people may not agree with me, but who cares? Regardless, Trek to Yomi is based on only two colors, black and white, and the shades between them. So it's a monochromatic game, and as a monochromatic game, I think it has nailed it out pretty good. I mean, it has really good visuals, it feels good, and it feels like you're in that samurai action movie with a big ass katana, and you can just be the badass you want to. And that is what everyone wants from this game, and I did got that. The combat, let's talk about combat. The combat is a bit clunky at times. I mean, I do not understand it. I will hit an enemy with all the might I have, and he might just get a little shrug, and he will just hit me right back and back and back. And my half of the HP would already be gone before I could know it. So it does feel a pretty bit lackluster. Some attacks are way too OP, and sometimes you will just get thick armored enemies that will take so many hits before dying, and then it just gets pretty annoying. So on the combat part, while it is pretty fun to look at, it might just not be after some time when you're playing it for the entire duration of the game. The game, however, only lasts for around 4 to 6 hours at the average. For people like me, you might just end it up in 3 hours, 3 to 4 hours, while collecting almost all the upgrades and all the long range weapons as well. So that covers up the combat system as well, and that leaves us with the verdict, the final conclusion, combining it all up. So on the graphic parts, the game nails it absolutely. On the story part, it is still a pretty good story. On the part of how the mechanics plays out, I think it's still pretty fair. I think the combat could have been a lot better, but it is still in a pretty good place compared to all the other games that have been released this year. So I think it still does a pretty good job on that. And with that, I think, once again, like my article, I would once again give it a score of 8 out of 10. 8 definitely, because it's a great game. You do not want to miss this one out. It's a small game, so definitely you have the time. I know you do. So please play the game. It is definitely worth your time. And if you have already played it, do comment and do let me know how you felt. And do let me know if I've done justice with the review, or should I have been more critical. I am open to suggestions. Although I wouldn't care a lot about what you think, because my opinion matters most. Just kidding. Do let me know what you think in the comments, and stay tuned for more content coming up from Gamify, from the entire team of Gamify. Make sure you follow the Press Start to Play podcast season 2. We are literally pushing out a lot of back and forth content with consistent delivery timing. So do give us a credit on that, and make sure you are following Gamify on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and make sure you're reading up all our articles being published there on time, on the embargo times, on our website www.gamify.com. And with that, this was me, Yudi. Take care. I'll see you soon.